Hi, it's Derek here from ForeGolf Custom. Today we're looking at Callaway's new Mavrik Iron. Be really careful. There's 3 different heads in this product line. You've got to make sure you get the right head to suit the right type of golfer. It's not about what handicap you are, it's all about ball flight. I've also got shaft information and some really interesting points about the loft settings, so stay tuned to that. I'm here with my colleague Dave. We're doing this new video with social distancing, so we're nice and far apart, but he is still here. Dave, let's talk about artificial intelligence straight away, because you see a lot of this word AI in relation to Callaway, but I want to go a little deeper into it. I want to understand more about it. So what are you seeing AI doing design-wise during the fittings?
AI for me is just more speed retention or a bigger sweet spot across the entirety of the face. So it's making something that is 1, more forgiving, and 2, with better distance control, because your off-centre hits now don't go short, they go the same distance as your good shots.
Right, so it's like a forgiving thing, so you're seeing the speed retain across the face.
Yeah, so it's a ball speed retention tool for me.
Better for bad shots, basically. That's kind of what he's saying. Let me break AI down a little bit. So normally design is done by humans. So the face design would have normally been typically done by a human design. Callaway have done is they've invested in their I guess their back end or their computer end. So what they've done is they've invested in this artificial intelligence program where they're inputting a lot of information relating to how they want the face to perform, how fast they want it off the face, the rules of golf as to terms of face design. So they've all this different sort of ingredients about how the face needs to perform. Then they're kind of getting the computer to go through different iterations or different design theories to come up eventually with the best design possible based on what they're trying to make the club do, in this case speed off the face, and then also designing the face around then increasing the area at which the speed retains based on off-center hits. Also, an important thing about AI and the design in terms of AI is that it's each individual head has a different design face to then suit the type of flight.
Yep.
So Dave, the 3 heads, let's start with the first one. So Mavrik Max.
Okay.
Just give us the broad stroke on what that is and who you've been fitting into it.
So I think the key thing to start is that all the 3 heads have all the same technologies in them. So there's a speed retention story and efficiency off the face. All 3 of them pull them. So a lot of it is visual and design, and then there's variances in the loft. So the Max has the most offset and the biggest sole plate. Again, their game improvement, maximum forgiveness product. Very easy to flight, very easy to get up in the air. Big offset if you have a natural cut. That good starter, natural cut product, very forgiving, does everything very easily.
Perfect. And then Mavrik then is the sort of the middle head, if you will. What have you been seeing with that one?
So that's going to be the main runner of their profile. Again, it's a speed story. Now, part of the speed story is the fact that the lofts are quite strong. So it goes far in distance because of the lofts being strong, part 1. And then the other element of it is the lofts can go strong because the centre of gravity's changed. So there's lots of heavy material, tungsten low down the bottom of the head, which creates launch. So launch is just another way of getting the ball up in the air. You can do it with loft, you can do it with launch. In this case, the height comes from the launch, and then the lofts can go stronger to give a distance story.
Let me just break that down a fraction more for you. So Dave spoke about CG and tungsten. So CG refers to center of gravity, or where the middle of the club head is in terms of the midpoint. So if you use tungsten, in which case Callaway do, and they set it low in the bottom of the head, so low down below the center, it pulls the CG low down in the head. That creates a more forgiveness or an ease of flight perspective. So where you've got weight or CG low down, it creates lift. So you either create lift based on spin or loft on the club, or you create lift or flight based on where the CG is placed. So in this case, Mavrik used CG to keep low, to get the ball to fly, and then they strengthen the lofts. A quick point you mentioned to me when we were doing the reconnaissance on this is in the gap wedge, a wedge, sand wedge scenario. Should people be aware of that?
So in the Mavrik, they've had to produce a pitching wedge, an approach wedge, a gap wedge, and a sand wedge. Traditionally, an approach wedge and a gap wedge are denoted by being the same thing. In this case, they've had to separate them out to get efficient loft gaps, so you don't have a really strong pitching wedge and a really weak sand wedge. and then this huge gap in the middle in your scoring game where you've got no clubs to go the distance that you need them to go.
Golden point, be careful. If you're new to the channel, this is fitting information and all about how we fit shafts, heads, lofts, all the cool information that you need to make a really informed decision. Dave's just made a really good point, so you need to subscribe to the channel if you're looking to buy irons, because we have all the information right here. Loft settings, if it's going to be strong, be careful at the bottom end, especially at the wedges. Don't make a mistake, buy the wrong wedges and realize you've got this huge gap. The Pro then, so is Pro denoted by these are for pro irons, or is there something else people should know?
Originally said about having the technology all the way through, this is just a distance product in a neater profile. So a thinner top line, smaller face. For low handicappers who have speed, it's not really that type of product. It's maybe for the single handicapper who started to drift a little bit because the golf course is getting longer and he can't quite get the distances out of things. That becomes this type of product. The Mavrik covers off so many options, and then you've got a whole in Callaway and Apex range which kind of covers off the low handicapper. So the Pro is maybe the smallest run of the whole three.
Will it still launch the same as Mavrik?
It will, yes, it will launch because it has more loft on it than Mavrik. So for the smaller, neater profile, obviously you can't get as much tungsten into it. So it has to have a little bit more loft on it to help the flight part of it.
So speed, but just in a smaller footprint.
Speed, but in a smaller footprint.
If they're the three heads then, what are you finding the most popular then that people are kind of latching on to at the fitting sessions?
I think versus who this is designed for, and it being the guy or girl who wants a bit of distance, the Mavrik is probably the longest one of the three, hence becomes the very most popular choice. It covers off the highest number of options, as it were. So it becomes the runner, as it were. The one thing that I would say to you as part of the fitting is with the strong lofts, the spin is quite low. In fact, at times it can be very low. So it becomes a very lightweighted steel product and a lot of graphite to produce the extra little bit of spin just to hold it and retain it, because the distance is great, but if you can't get it to stop on a short iron, is it actually worth it in the long run?
Here's a bit of Workshop Insider now. Because we can build the product here, we get the heads, we can customize the lofts to suit the type of player. So David's mentioning more about what you would see on the website or their standard spec or their standard lofts. Because we build it here and we can assess the players using TrackMan 4, we can customize loft to suit the right type of spin. So what David's suggesting here is if you're going to buy these actually off the rack and not have them custom built, then you need to be careful about the lofts. So pick the right shaft to try and launch it. If you need a little bit more spin, a little bit more height, maybe use the shaft to do that. So then tell me what shafts specifically will work well with Mavrik. If you're using that, is that the top head? What's the top shaft?
Graphite, and if it's not graphite, it's lightweight steel. And the perfect combination, which is you'll use a lot, is Nippon 950.
Because they have Elevate, don't they? They
have Elevate as a shaft. Again, I just use the Nippon just because it's a little bit softer, creates a little bit more spin with a little bit more feel, and it just works incredibly well with this as a product.
And more stiffer or regular, or what are you using in flex?
Both. The stiffness if you just want that little bit of extra control out of it, and the regular if you just want a little bit more spin again.
Should you be using flex to determine if you're certain swing speeds, or is this more about, because it's going to go quick, right? So
it's going to go quick, yeah.
How are you working out the different flexes for the different players?
Again, it's more spin rate variance as opposed to speed variance. So I'll pick shaft on how much do I need a little bit more spin, or do I need a little bit less spin? The stiffer will reduce spin a little bit more, and the softer regular will increase spin a little bit more. So I'm probably using a little bit more softer regular shafts than I would in the past, because I need that extra little bit of spin to make that distance usable.
So the Callaway Mavrik has 3 heads, and it's important to note that these aren't rated by different handicaps. So the Pro isn't for the lower handicapper and the Mavrik isn't for the mid handicapper. It's more about the type of shape that you need and the type of miss or shot that you suffer from. So be aware and try all 3 to figure out which one is best. I think with these heads, it's all about speed. So if you're looking for more speed and more speed retention and off-center hits, all 3 will deliver. It's also important to note that the price point, the RRP, it's around that sort of €990 mark. So if you're in a different region, apologies, but that's the euro price. That's for all 3 different heads, so there's no differential in pricing. I've also done a video on the Mavrik line of woods, which has very similar kind of strains or strands in technology through them. I'll put a link to those so you can watch it. I also think we might do a comparison video between these and Rogue. So in case you have Rogue irons, you're thinking of upgrading, you can see and compare the 2. I'll do that down the road. So maybe subscribe subscribe to the channel, and why don't you ring the bell and you'll get notified when that video goes live, and you can then do the comparison video. In the meantime, hope you're enjoying the content. Please give us a like if you do, and I'll catch you at the next video. Thanks very much for watching.